I just had to move out of the place I've lived in for over 2 years. It was never my favorite, and I certainly never planned to stay. But when I imagined moving out, I envisioned doing so into a nice single-family home with a private backyard, or at least a nicer apartment in general. When it came down to it, though, I had only one criteria for my new apartment. Something cheaper. Nothing has changed for me. I'm making the same amount of money. If anything, I'm making more. But somehow, no matter how many hours I work, I still find myself having to choose between groceries or gas. What I was able to afford just a few years ago is something now completely out of reach for me, and I think this is indicative of a larger issue in the US that, sadly, many others are experiencing far worse than me. The median sale price of homes in the United States increased from $329,000 to a little over $430,000 in just 3 years' time, from 2020 to 2023. Comparably, the median price in 2015 was only $289,000. And even more shockingly, in 1980, the price was below $64,000. If you're anything like me, though, or as studies show, over half of millennials, you've already given up on the dream of owning a home. So what does the cost of living look like for renters? Well, the average price of rent in the US reached an all-time high this year, seeing a nearly 25% increase from just 4 years prior in 2019, and still a 16% increase from 2021 when I signed my last lease. Despite this, the average wage during that same time from 2019 to 2023 hasn't even increased by a single percent. That is not to say that we aren't being worked harder, though. In fact, productivity is higher than ever. We just aren't being compensated for it. But that money has to be going somewhere, right? Don't worry. The top 1% of earners are the only ones who have actually seen an increase in wages, reaping all the benefits of our labor. Nowadays, they control 27% of the entire nation's wealth, or better put, more than the entire middle class combined. When you factor the other top 9%, they control 70% of the entire wealth of our country. Meanwhile, nearly 38 million people, or 11.5% of the population, live below the federal poverty line. With the cost of living and housing on the rise, not to mention an increase in poverty and food insecurity, the country is a scary place right now, and quite frankly, I think we all know that we can't go on like this. And it's important to remember that, as the generation rising to power, it's, unfortunate as it is, our responsibility to clean up the mess that we were all born into and dismantle the system built to benefit the few at the expense of the many.